Go ahead and put in your attendance, and please click on today's lecture notes, and we're going to continue down this path of using PHP and SQL together. We're going to do more stuff to the database, and we're going to be ultimately, by the end of this week, we're going to be creating a full-fledged web application using kind of everything we learned in this class so far. So please click on today's lecture notes, and then let that go. We have some starter files as usual. So go ahead and download that. Put in your attendance. Let's get prepared. Let's go ahead and download. This is the PM class, so go ahead and save this. Let's download everything. Download. Okay. While you're downloading everything and getting that, make sure your map is set up as well. Make sure your map is on. Let me change my preferences as well. Make sure I gotta change the document folder to ITP 303 PM. Select, click OK. I'm gonna go ahead and start my servers here. Okay. Alrighty, just make sure it's working. And lecture 17 today. So let's go ahead and get all that set up here. Lecture 17. There it is. Refresh. There it is. There it is. All right, so it's going to look something like this when you open up Lecture 17, the starter files, and make sure map is running correctly and all that. And it might be helpful to have MySQL Workbench open today. We're just going to write, just because we're going to be editing the database today, and then we just want to make sure that we're getting the right results and all that here. Okay, don't forget to do attendance. One last class also on the whiteboard. And before we jump into today's lecture, I just want to take care of some admin stuff. So it is week 11 already in the semester. We have 4 more weeks of class left. And let me just tell you what's kind of it's always good to, when you're in school, you want to try to plan ahead. I know a lot of times we're playing catch up, but it's also good to think ahead. So think ahead a little bit. This is the syllabus. I uploaded it just now. So here's the syllabus for this class. So we have CRUD. We're going to talk about CRUD or CRUD for this whole week. You're going to have a lab and then an assignment as usual. And this assignment that's going to be due Monday is typically your last real assignment. The reason for that is because, as you can kind of see, the next 2 assignments are related to your final project. So we're going to start talking about the final project on Thursday. I'm gonna give out all the requirements. I'm gonna show you some sample final projects on Thursday. And one of your assignments is going to be to think about what you want to make for your final project. So it's no code. You're just writing a proposal of what you want to make. And then kind of after that is just one more assignment related to final project. You have one more lab, and that's it. So we're really we're kind of nearing the end of the semester here, and I really want you to finish strong. So let's kind of plan ahead and think ahead of what's going on. So you do have a midterm next Thursday. That's important. And I have they're on the website, today's lecture notes. If you click on the link, you're going to see all the details about it. So it's next Thursday, same time, same classroom. We're all going to be in here again. It's going to be a 90-minute exam. The topics are everything from week 8, the database basics, designing databases. Remember how we created ER diagrams and normalized things. So from then all the way to next Tuesday, that's going to be on that last topic. And similar with the first midterm, you can have a reference sheet, same 8.5 by 11. It has to be written. It has to be your own. You can create cheat sheet if you have a study group or something, or friends that you want to study with. You can, of course, but you have to write your own cheat sheet. So very similar. The structure of the exam is the same as the last one. You're gonna have multiple choice, fill in the blank. You're gonna see some code, and you have to evaluate the code, as well as you're gonna have to write some code as well. So you're gonna be writing a lot of SQL statements. You're gonna be looking at database. You're gonna be looking at tables, columns, right, keys and whatnot. You're also going to be designing a database, right? So the back-end midterm, a lot of students end up doing a lot better. They feel like it's more straightforward or whatnot. But again, everybody has everybody's at different experience levels. So depending on how you feel like it's going right now, you may or may not do better than this first exam. So that's that. So don't forget, it's next Thursday. All right, so what else is going on? So after the midterm, all the topics we're going to be talking about is kind of extra topics to help you with your final project. For example, membership system. So we haven't talked about this yet, but like how do we create users on our website? That's like a very common feature that all websites have, right? How do we do password, like authentication stuff? We're going to be talking about that. And this is also a fun one. How do you use, now that we know PHP, how do we use Ajax with PHP to make everything like, so that all the pages are on a single page as we don't refresh. And then we have holiday break and then some other fun, using REST APIs on the server side, so on and so forth. So a lot of extraneous fun topics are coming up after the exam. And then for the final project or final exams. So in this class, the final exam period is that this is the schedule we have to follow. It's December 12th, 4:30 to 6:30. It's going to be here. So this is when we're supposed to take our final exam, but we're not taking an exam. We're going to do presentations instead. So presentations, everybody does have to be here. You're required to attend. It's like a final exam. But the presentation itself, which is spelled wrong, the presentation itself is going to be optional for extra credit. So this is going to be your final extra credit opportunity. If you need like that little boost, this will be helpful. So depending on how many people sign up to present, we might not take up the whole 2 hours. This is just the 2 hours that's allotted for us. The final project itself is going to be actually due the Friday. This is Thursday. 12/12 is Thursday. The final project is actually going to be due on Friday, the day after. The scheduling of the exam is just unfortunate. That's a little bit before, but it's okay. So that means that the presentations, even if your project is not 100% done, it's okay. You can still present as long as you have most of it done. And then the project is actually due on that first Friday during exam week. So it's December 13th, 11:59 p.m. The presentations itself, it doesn't have to be formal. You don't have to have slides. You don't have to dress up, right? So you just come and you present. You show us either on your laptop or my laptop. Just open up your final project and just show us what you made. Just click through the pages, and it's more like a demonstration of what you made, and talk about any highlights and things like that. Nothing crazy here. Very short presentation. All right. So that's kind of where we're headed in the next 4 weeks or so. I think this is a good time to try to recover if you feel like you need to recover, or I think or just a good time to kind of reflect and plan ahead for the next 4 weeks of this class and also your other classes as well. Any questions about final project, midterm? Yes.
Will we continue to have office hours where we can ask for help on our
Of course, yeah. So we have our office hours are going to last until week 15, the last week of school. And then, during the study days, exam days, we'll also have we'll have different office hours for those times. Yeah. And one question that we got in the morning class was like, after we upload our final project, when it's done, like how long is it going to stay up there? Are we allowed to use the ITP web dev link to share with our potential employers and whatnot for interviews? And so my answer is, so whatever you upload here, I'm not going to delete it until at the earliest, the end of the semester. If I can't guarantee what happens after the end of the end of the school year. So spring 2020, like May 2020. So after May 2020, I can't guarantee if it's going to stay there or not. But for sure, until May 2020, everything that you have on the server right now it's yours. It's not going to get changed. So if you want to log in and change stuff, you totally can after the semester is over. If you want to share the final project link with your during an interview or employer or whoever, you totally can. A lot of students like to use their final project for this class as like a portfolio piece because it's unique, right? Everybody makes a unique final project. It's worth more sharing your final project link than like an assignment that you did in class, because an assignment, everybody does it, but a final project is very unique. So employers tend to like to see that's something unique. So yeah. All right, any other questions before we move on? All right, let's go ahead and get started then with our code today. Last call for attendance. It's also on the blackboard over there, 3965. Okay, so from your the assignment you just did, or last week we talked about searching things, how you can search for songs, search for DVDs and whatnot. So we're gonna continue down this path. I've showed you Yelp before, but I'm gonna show you again just because again everything we're doing here, we're gonna be doing very classic, typical web application stuff, and web is such a great example. Yelp is such a great example of a typical web application. It does all the functionalities that a web application should do. So far, if you will, we've talked about searching, how we can search for things and things show up. Right? Great. However, now there's a few more functionalities we gotta add, and we like to call these. Oh, let me go ahead and go back here. We like to call these CRUD or CRUD for short. Create, read, update, and delete. Any web application you ever build that has some kind of database on it has these 4 core functionalities: create, read, update, delete. We talked about read already a lot, how to search, how to retrieve information. So today we're going to talk about how to create new records, and then on Thursday we're going to talk about update and delete. So these are again the basic 4 types of functionality that implemented by databases, and all web applications, no matter what web application you use, if you examine them closely, they have these 4 functionalities. So hey, Yelp looks different from what it looked like this morning. Cool. So oh wow, that's React. They totally anyway, all right. I should have a class where we just look at different websites and just evaluate them. Anyway, so when I click on a specific restaurant or this is a bakery, I'm going to be able to see details of this bakery and of just this bakery, right? And like how many reviews it has, the cuisine, like all the phone number, all this information. We like to call this like a detail page. So that's what we're going to be doing today as well. When I search for a song, let's look for like a song called Love. When I click on a specific track, I'm going to be able to see the details of that specific track. Just like a very typical web application thing. Even like on Amazon, if you think about it, when you search for products, let's say I want to buy a new Alexa or something, and I type in Alexa, I'm going to get a bunch of results, right? Very, very typical bunch of results. And if I click on a specific product, I'm going to see details of that product, right? So that's a very typical thing that we do. So that's what we're going to be doing as well. We're going to be kind of mimicking, we're going to be searching our database. We're going to be able to click on a specific result and see the details of that specific thing, whatever that is. It's song, a product, restaurant, whatnot. A little more than this, a little more thing we can do with Yelp, for example, is I can write a review, right? If I write a review about this cafe and I start writing, I'm not going to post it, but if I post a review, what am I doing? I'm inserting a new review, probably to like a reviews table, into Yelp's database. I don't know where, I don't know how they manage their database exactly, but somewhere in the database, I'm going to be inserting this new review to the database. And anybody as a user can do this. So we're going to be doing that today as well in our song, with our song database or our song application. I'm going to be able to add a specific song to my database, and it's going to update my database, and my database is going to have the latest songs. And then later, if I try to search for the song, I should see the new song that I just added. Okay. Lastly, though, let's think a little bit about adding, though. So if I was, for example, if I was trying to sell my product on Amazon, I would also not only would I be able to write reviews for a product, but if I was selling my own product, I could also add a product into the Amazon as well, right? If I was like the seller, even like Airbnb, like let's say Airbnb, another classic web application. If I wanted to, there's two different types of users, right? There's users that just want to look for a place to stay, and that's all they care about. They only need to really search, and that's kind of it. Versus hosts who wants to host their own apartment or their hotel or their condo or whatever, and they want to allow other users to stay at their place. So there are 2 different users, right? So each user can do different things. So with web applications, you gotta also think about what kind of user can add things to my database. Remember, anytime I add things to my database or update or delete, it's permanent. So you gotta think very carefully about, okay, who's gonna be able to add this to my database? Who can who's gonna be able to update things, right? We can't allow a normal user to just delete everything, right? So when you're planning an application, you gotta think about different user levels, different permissions as well. So the two things we're gonna be doing today, we're not gonna do everything today. We're gonna, it's all about increment, doing small things. It's always about doing smaller things, and eventually we get bigger. So what we're gonna be doing today is we're going to do that details page, and then we're gonna insert new songs to the data using PHP. So this is kind of the workflow we did for the search last week. You have a form, and then you have another page that shows results. That was it. That was pretty simple. But now, as we're building a bigger web application, now we're gonna have multiple pages. So I'm gonna give you most of these pages, but this is kind of our workflow. Again, before I code anything, I like to kind of plan, kind of map out in my head. What am I making? How is this all gonna work? So this is kind of our workflow. We're gonna start with. I'm gonna introduce you to a new page called index.php. It's going to be the home page, and it's going to allow users to do two things. Either they can go search for the page they want, so they can search, and then we see some details. That's delete. Okay, we search and we see some details, or they can just simply add a song. There you go. There's my detail page. So when we're searching, we could see the details. We're going to be able to delete things from the search page. We're going to be able to edit the search results as well. So this is kind of the workflow I'm working off of. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but this is, I think, very typical, probably the basic way to kind of to organize your workflow. All right, so let's try this out. All right, let me go and close all my tabs. Please, again, if you haven't already, go ahead and open up to today's lecture notes. Go ahead and download the starter files, make sure your map is working, and when you go to the lecture file, you're going to see lecture number 17 insert. You're going to see this page here where it gives you two options: search for songs or add a song. And let's open up Sublime, and let me go and close all this actually. Okay, so with Sublime, you could keep things kind of, because if you unzip the starter file, you're going to see we have like 6 files. It's a lot of files to work with. So with Sublime, what I like about them is I can actually also drag an entire folder over into Sublime. And on the side, I'm going to see all these different pages, as you can see here. Right, and if you don't, you can always like toggle hide the sidebar if you don't like the sidebar, but it's there. So now in this one folder, I can see all the files at once. That makes it a little bit easier for me to manage. If I click on index.php, there it is. That's my index.php. A lot of home pages are called index.php because by default, if you go to a document root like this and do /, it's going to open up your home page, index.php. That's why this is fairly useful. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and let's go back to the search. So the search page, yeah, we gotta add some stuff. Yes. Index.php. Yes. Not home, index.php. Yep. All right, let's open up our search form and our search results form. This is the thing that we worked on last week. We're not gonna change much here, but let's go ahead and write the, let's fill in your credentials here so that it still works. Mine is this. Oh yeah, DB user. All right, so go ahead and fill it out with your own, whatever your own username and password is. Okay, that's my database. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. Maybe I'll copy this over to the results and everything else. All the search information, all of this is typically the same. And then let's go ahead and like search for love or something, and we can. Okay, cool. Love is working. So this is the files that we worked on last week. We're going to continue to build off these pages. If you click on like search for songs, you should be able to like search for a song. Yeah, and then that's it. So when I look for a song with title Love, I'm going to get all these results. Awesome. Okay, so these search results are good, but if I want more details about this specific song, just like how I showed you in Yelp, you want to see more details of a specific restaurant, or like in Amazon, you want to see details of a product. We got to add some information here. So what I'm going to do in this case, and there's a lot of different ways you can go about this, but what I'm going to do is what I want to do is I want to say every time I click, I'm going to make each of these a link, so that when I click on a specific song, I just get directed to the details of that song. That's kind of the approach I'm going to make here. Right, so let's try that first. I'm going to scroll down in my results. That's my results, right? In my results, I'm going to scroll down to where I see all these oh yeah, here's a table. Here's my while loop. My while loop is running through all my results. Let me go ahead and position these over. And oh my, I'm going to remove the indentation just so we can see all this in a nice fashion here. All right, awesome. All right, so we're running through all my results, and we're showing each individual result, the track name, the genre name, and the media type, right? These are the 3 pieces of data we're showing. Okay, so if I want to make this link, this track clickable, like I want to click it and something happens, what's the tag that we should use? Anybody? Anchor link. Yep, anchor link is that's the only tag that allows us to, when I click on it, it becomes like a link, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna, oh man, this is, let me add some line breaks just for our sanity's sake. All right, so here's my TD, the table data tag is there, and I'm gonna wrap an anchor link around that text, that piece of text. There you go, anchor link. Here, let me, okay. And I'm gonna, we need the href attribute to specify where it's gonna go to, right? For now, let's go ahead and put details.php, and we're gonna have to add to this. But basically, what I'm saying is, no matter which result I click on right now, yay, they all became links. No matter which one I click on right now, it's just automatically gonna take us to this details page, details.php. Okay, and obviously right now, details.php, all this is hard coded. This is not real Composer, right? All this is hard coded information. This is not details about that specific track just yet. So far, are we good so far? I'm just adding an anchor link around the track name, and this is a while loop. So it's going to run through all of the results, and for each of the track name, I'm adding I'm just wrapping an anchor tag around each of them. So far, so good, right? All right, cool. Okay, now then, the next step that we got to think about is, okay, so each of these tracks has different information, but right now they're all just going to the details.php, and that's it. So let's think about it. So once I get to the details.php, by the way, I have a file for that. Let's open that up as well. Details.php, let's go and open that as well. There's my details.php. All right, so when I get to this page called details.php, the HTML is already set for me, but I need to grab information about whatever the song that the user just clicked on. Okay. So I need a way to tell I need a way to know, like the code needs to know, or PHP, or somebody needs to know, how do I know which one the user clicked on, right? If the user clicked on Loved in an Elevator versus Love, Hate, Love, it's 2 totally different tracks. So I got to pull 2 completely different pieces of information. So, maybe some things to think about is, can JavaScript do that, right? Can you, when I click on it, pass some information over or something like that, blah, blah. A lot of different ways to kind of think about what to do here. But the best way to do this is, let me go ahead and open up this little bit. Do you guys remember how we can append parameters up here like this? Right, this is from our results page. In that similar line of thought, what I can do is when I click on Love in an Elevator, I can actually append some parameters up in my URL to kind of specify, hey, the user clicked on such and such song. So one way to, or the most common way to send information from one page to the next page is to use this URL parameter, the little parameters up on top here. It's like this question mark, for example. Okay, so if anything that comes after this question mark is a parameter here. Right? So let's think about this. And okay, so we can send information from one page to another using parameters. Okay, and then but then each of these songs are also unique, right? So we got to make sure we're passing the right information. Let me go ahead and open up my SQL workbench real quick. I just kind of want to remind myself what my tracks table had. In my tracks table, there's my tracks table. Okay, there's all this information. Remember my good old track ID? Do you recall how track ID is unique to each song? So even if I have two of the same songs, even if two tracks have the same name, it's okay. I can differentiate any of them by using track ID, right? Because each of them have a primary key that's unique to each song. So utilizing all this piece of information, this is what my approach is. Let's go my search results. All right, back in here, my details.php. What I want to do, let me go ahead and write this down in here. What I'm going to do is pass So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the track's primary key to the details page. So I can do something like this. Okay, question mark means that's the end of my URL. I'm going to pass in some parameters. Track ID equals whatever. Okay, we don't know yet, but whatever it is. Okay, we'll come back to that. But now let's see what happens. I'm going to go and refresh and click on like a love in an elevator. Now notice how, oh, cool, because I clicked on it like that. Notice how I see track ID in my URL. Right now it's question mark because we don't know what it is yet. But does that make sense? So I'm able, every time I click on a link, what's going to happen is the URL gets appended up here because that's what I requested. And so my details page now has access to my track ID. All right, so if I go to my details page, okay, if I go to details page, because it's a parameter up here, and because when I clicked on the link, I made a GET request. Now I'm able to do stuff like, I don't know, before I do any of that, I could go just do var dump get up here, for example. And then what am I going to get? I'm going to get, oh, interesting, I'm going to get track ID, associated array key, is question mark. Okay, so it's going to know whatever track ID I just passed in. So let me try that one more time. So we go back. So right now, all of these links, if I click on it, it's gonna say track ID question mark, and I'm gonna be able to see that using the get super global, I'm able to get whatever the user just passed in up here. Okay. So if I had passed in track ID 55, details.php would know, oh, you want track ID that was passed was 55. 99, whatever it is. So we're utilizing this parameter up here to do whatever to pass in information from one page to another. We're using these URL parameters up here, and we can, because they're up there in the URL parameter, we can use get requests we can use the get super global to grab its values. Pretty neat. Right? So if you've ever seen, like, I don't know if you pay attention to these things, but I do. Like when you click on like a Facebook link, like an ad or something, do you notice how like all of a sudden your URL becomes ginormous? Well, that's because that's how Facebook is tracking you. That's how they know you clicked on their ad. Same thing with Google, right? That's all this information gets passed in to the next page, and it gets sent to Google or it gets sent to Facebook. That's how they analyze. Oh, the user clicked on this ad at this time after they clicked on this. So very common practice. So there you go. This is your. This is how we pass information from one page to another. Let's go back to my results real quick. Results. Okay. All right, so right now, all of these are hard-coded. They have, no matter what I click on, it's going to say question mark. By the way, anytime you hover over a link on the bottom here, you can actually see what the link is going to go to before you go to it. It's nice to look at that. Okay. All right, so now I gotta make all these unique. I gotta make sure that back in my search results, and my details were over here. I need to make sure that where's my result? There it is. All right, I need to make sure that each of these aren't question marks. I need them to be unique. So I need to get the actual track ID for this specific song. So it looks like that we're able to get the track name, genre name, media type, and all that for each result, but I have yet to get the track ID yet. I'm going to scroll up to the top. Let's see what we get here. Okay, so if you recall, in my search results, I ran a SQL statement. It's a select statement, and it grabs all my track information, and I can see it. I get it like this, right? But actually, so I'm getting like track's name, I'm getting genre name, media type's name, and media type. But I also need to go grab a track ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add information here. I'm going to say, hey, I also want track ID in my SQL statement. Okay, so in your search results.php, we're going to ask for one more piece of information. We're going to say, hey, track, let's go get the track ID for each of our results. So once I have this track ID, hopefully that didn't break my SQL statement, I can scroll down. So make sure you have this around line 17. Make sure you add track ID to your select statement. And then now if I scroll down to my details page, there it is, details page right here. In my track ID here, now instead of putting question mark, I can actually grab, because I'm in the while loop, I can grab, just like how I grabbed the track name and all that, I can easily say, hey, PHP, let's go ahead and echo out. Okay, row. And we got to use single quotes because we're inside a double quote thing. Let's go ahead and grab track ID. Okay, let me go ahead and here you go. Just try to. Oh, okay, maybe not. Let me try to break this up a little bit, just to make it easier to read. Okay. So after we get the results of whatever the user searched for, we're gonna run through the while loop. We're gonna get the user's track ID. We're gonna get the song's track ID. We're gonna append it to the end of our URL here, of our link here, and then we're going to show the track name and genre and everything else that we've done so far. Okay, I'll come back to the code in a second. But if all is well, now if I click on like the first song here, I can see track ID is 1, for example. Or let's do fast as a shark. Oh, that's track ID 3. Okay. Go down, I guess. It's track ID 15, right? Whatever it is. Night of the Long Nights. What interesting names, right? 13, right? There we are. Every time I hover over any of the songs too, by the way, it shows you exactly what link it's going to go to. So this is one way of how we can uniquely identify each single song. Here's the code again. Any questions about that, or is that pretty straightforward, or is it weird? Okay, then. All right, then. Once we've added links here, now when I click on the details, we're gonna go to details.php. Right, we're sent over to details.php. We have successfully made a GET request to details.php. Now that we're here, before I do anything else, before I do the whole database stuff, I'm gonna run a quick conditional. I want to make sure that I am getting a valid track ID. So if I click on what fast as a shark, for example, I need to make sure that I'm getting the correct track, or not necessarily the correct track ID, but I need to make sure that I'm actually getting a track ID, like that. It's not like blank, right? Or it's not misspelled or anything like that. I want to make sure I'm getting a valid track ID up here, from up here. So let's go ahead and run a quick if conditional statement here. I just want to say, okay, let's go ahead and, using the get super global, go get my track ID if it's set, or if it's, let's do the opposite, if it's not set, okay, or it's empty. Okay, so there's something wrong with my track ID parameter. If something is wrong, we need to show some kind of error message. Notice how right over here I have like this red error message that says show error message. Okay, so I need to do something about this. And there's a lot of different ways you can handle errors when it comes to PHP, but this is one way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and declare a variable called error, and I'm just going to give a string here, invalid track ID, just a piece of text. All right. So if there is if the track ID isn't set or it's empty, there's something wrong with it, there's like no value given to the track ID, then we're going to declare a variable called error and give it invalid track ID. And then what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and scroll down here a little bit. So around line 40 or 41 or so, you're going to see this div with text danger again, and that's the red message right over here. And what I'm gonna write a quick conditional statement here as well, basically saying if there is an error, then show the message, or else it's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and write some PHP here as well. I'm gonna use that alternate syntax that we talked about before, but this time we're gonna use we can do this with if statements as well. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is if my error is set. Okay, if there's a variable called error that's set and it's not empty, okay, then I'm going to go ahead and show the error message here. The error message is going to be that error, whatever I declared for error, the variable error. Does that make sense? So we're using that one error variable to keep track of errors. Let me scroll back up real quick. So I'm saying if that track ID is not given to us, so if a track ID has not been passed properly to us, or it's empty or something, I'm going to create a variable called error and some message. And then in my HTML, I'm going to scroll down to my HTML. And I want to say, okay, if something weird happened, then I'm going to show, if the error is set, I'm going to show this div with that message. Yes.
So when we up at the top, when we do that get super global track ID,
how
does it know to get that little end piece from the URL?
Yeah. So get means anytime the page has anytime there was a get request set, we can grab these things. Typically, anytime you see this get super global, it automatically knows to grab it from my URL. So what happened actually is when I click on in the results, when I clicked on a link, what's happening is I'm making a get request to this specific page, to details.php, and I'm passing in a parameter called track ID. So it goes to this page, and when I get to this page, I'm saying, oh, that get request. Oh, they made a get request earlier. Okay, what do they pass in? Oh, track ID. That's the key or the key. And then by simply doing this, we're now able to go get the value, which is 1. Yeah. Yes.
2 questions.
Okay.
One, and else should we copy? Where should we paste it? We have another.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, we just didn't get there yet. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then in the can you go back down to the
Error. Yeah. The text danger. Yeah. So as you can see right now, right away, even on this example, I don't see an error anymore. Okay, so if I put in if I did track ID equals nothing and I that's all I did, I'm gonna see invalid track ID, right? If I if a user just went to details.php without the track ID information, I'm gonna also see invalid track ID. I'm gonna be able to see this this message here. So it's kind of nice to do that just because errors are bound to happen. So we just want to make sure that in our results, when I click on a specific result, I'm able to just verify that I'm getting the right track ID. All right, cool, track ID 3. Yes?
You have to check the error name twice, like once at the beginning and once at the end. Like, what do you have to check the error message?
Oh, So I'm at this state, I'm simply checking if the parameter exists, and then this is just kind of what I happen to do. Like I declared a variable called error, right? And then over here, so at this point, it has nothing to do with the parameter. I just simply want to show. I want to decide, do I show that error message or not? That's all I'm thinking. So I happen to store that information in a variable called error. Yeah. Theoretically, I could do all of this in one shot. I could put all of this right over here. I just like separating a little. I'm just separating out the logic a little bit. Yeah. Good question. Any other questions? Okie dokes. All right. So assuming we got the right track ID, we can continue to let's go ahead and connect to the database, and let's go ahead and get information about this specific song. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my credentials over again, or go ahead and type it in, or whatever you'd like to do. Okay, and then we've done this already, but let's do our typical create my new instance of MySQL. We're going to pass in the 4 pieces of information, which we've done before. It's the same connect, connect to the database. Okay, we're going to run write a quick if-else statement. If if there's an error number or something happened, then we're going to go ahead and connect error, exit. So if there's any error with our connection, we're going to get some kind of error message and then quit the program. We did this last week. And then let's go ahead and set the character set here. Because we're going to be getting a lot of information from the database, right? We're going to get like all this information about the track. I need to make sure that we set a character set and that everything comes out kind of unified. We're going to use the universal UTF-8 character set here. Okay, and before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and just close my database connection because I always forget to do that. So I'll do that. Okay, and here let's go ahead and write the SQL statement. So at this point, we are going to, now that we have all the we're connected to the database and all that, now we can write our SQL statement. Right, so what do I want to do? I want to get all the information about this specific song. Okay, and I want to get the name, the artist name, composer, right? I want to get a lot of information here. So let's, before I just jump in here, I'm going to go ahead and open up MySQL Workbench just so I can kind of do this here first and then transfer it to my PHP. So what do I want to do? I want to go ahead and select from tracks. I want to get all the information from tracks. Right, that's great, but notice how if I just select from tracks, I'm going to get all these keys. So this is like the foreign key, right? All these keys. But eventually, I want to show, this is not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to see the exact names of each song. I don't want to see like these keys. I need to see these, the artist name. I want to like see all these names in plain English. So to do that, I got to join, right? So I'm going to have to do a lot of joins here. So let's break this down. So in my select statement, what I want the track name for sure. So I definitely want the track name. And then I want the artist name. Oh gosh, right? So now we got to think about this. If you kind of forgot what all this looked like, on the left here, you can actually kind of see like, oh, what was the name of the artist name again? Oh, there it is, artist.name. Right, so let's go into this. So we're going to select tracks.name. We're gonna get a lot of information. We're going to get artist.name. What else? Composer. Composer is just a field. We don't need to get it from a different table. There is composer. What else? Albums.title, I think. Albums.title, right? Albums.title. What else? Let me just genres dot name, milliseconds, genre milliseconds, bytes. I think bytes is also just the field there. Yep, and unit price for price. Okay, so all of these information is coming from. All right, from tracks, we're gonna have to join a bunch of times. Let me go ahead and join over here. We're gonna join maybe to get my artist information, I gotta join my albums first. So let's go ahead and join albums. Okay, on albums.album ID equals tracks.album ID. Join. So now we can do artists on artists.artist ID equals, this is coming from albums, so albums.artist ID. Holy cow. So this is kind of review from last week. We're doing a bunch of joins. We got to join genre on genres.genre. I'm kind of reciting this from memory, but if you need anytime you need to double check, on the left here, you can kind of double check here. Oh, there's my genres table. The column was called genres ID. There we go. Tracks.genre ID. Is that it? Let me double check real quick. So I just need I need artist, album, genre. Okay, that's all I need to do. Okay, just those three. I just need to do just those three here. I'm going to run this. If I run this here, I'm gonna get information of all these tracks. I'm gonna get a lot of information. I'm getting like the name, the artist, and all that here. Awesome. Okay, but notice how all the column names are like, they're all kind of the same. Name. So I need to make slightly different. I make these a little bit different. So track name as track, artist name as artist. Let's go ahead and now give it some genre, maybe as genre. Let's make album's title as album as well. Okay, we're going to run this again. Aha, now we go. We have like track, artist, composer, album, genre. Okay, cool. So I'm building a query so that I can get all the information I need so I can put it in my HTML. Right? So this is kind of my guiding point here. Track name, artist, composer, album, genre, millisecond, bytes, and unit price. Great. Okay. And then the very last piece of information I'm going to need is because I want to see the details of one song at a time, I'm going to need to do a where clause, right? Where track, and we're going to use track ID, where track ID equals whatever, 1 or something. Then it's going to pull up the details of that specific track ID, which is this one right here. So this track ID is going to change depending on what the user is looking for, obviously, but right, that's kind of that's our baseline. Okay, I'm going to copy all this. Let's open up our Sublime text and let's dump it in, copy paste it in. Holy cow, there it is. It just looks scarier than it is, but it's ultimately SQL that you've done before. It just looks kind of scary, but it's SQL ultimately. And the one variation we're going to have is this track ID right now. I'm hard coding it to 10, but it's not 10, right? It should be whatever the user clicked on, whatever depends on the track that the user clicked on. So I'm going to concatenate here. Okay. I'm going to concatenate here, and I'm going to go and grab whatever, using the get super global, whatever the user the value that the user clicked on, the track ID, is what I'm going to just dump in there. Okay. And because this is kind of a hairy SQL statement, or it's getting kind of big, I want to double check. I want to make sure that all my SQL looks correct. So I'm going to quickly just dump, before I do anything, I'm just going to print it out on my screen. I'm going to refresh. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so I see my SQL statement up here. Just double check that it looks kind of right. Select tracks name, track, comma, make sure there's no. So anytime I work with SQL, I always want to just double check it before I do anything with that there's no, there's like no dumb syntax error, like I accidentally missed a comma or something. I just want to double check everything here. Okay, all right, cool. Where track ID equals 3. Awesome. So depending on what I click on, this should change, right? So if I go back to results and I click on like, let's just pick one, spellbound. There you go. Oh, good. It says track ID 14. Up here should say track ID 14 as well. Let's try click on another one. Maybe like blind man. Great. This is track ID 31, and the URL told me that it's 31 as well. Cool. Awesome. So depending on what we click on, we're gonna be able to run this statement depending on what the user clicked on. Okay, so if this looks good to you, then we can go ahead and run the query. Similar to what we did before, we're going to create a variable called results. We're going to go ahead and query to results, and we are going to do do a quick error checking, make sure we get valid results back. MySQL I error. Let's think about this for a second. So once I run the query, I'm going to get some result back. But in this case, because I'm only getting one result back at a time, meaning like I'm only getting information about one track at a time. I don't need to run a while loop or anything. I can simply say, just go like, maybe I'll just save row. I'll create a new variable, and I can do results. Fetch assoc, right, to go get the associated array of the result I did. And let's go ahead and dump out row real quick just to see what that looks like. There we go. So I run this SQL statement. I got back some result. I stored in a variable called row. Okay, and then there it is. This is all the information about that specific song. I get like blind man. The track is blind man. The artist is Aerosmith. This is the composer. This is the album, the genre, my milliseconds, bytes, unit price, so on and so forth. Awesome. So I'm getting all the information about this specific track called Blind Man. And if I want to do a quick check, before I do anything else, I can always click on, at least if I click on amazing, for example, great, I'm getting information about the amazing track name amazing. These are those keys, right? Track is the key, amazing is value, artist is the key, Aerosmith is the value, so on and so forth. Let me try to do another one, maybe like wake up, right? So on and so forth. Sweet. Okay. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Alrighty. Okay. Then once I have all these results, awesome. Right, now that I have all these results, I'm going to scroll down. And I need to display my results, right? So I'm going to scroll down to track name and artist name and all that, so on and so forth. I'm going to scroll down. So there, this is a giant table with all my details in my table. So it says track name here, right? And on the left, I'm going to say track name. So in here, let me go ahead and remove the indentation. So track name. Okay, and in that, instead of hard coding track name, this is where I'm going to go ahead and echo things out. Yes. Oh, indentation. In Sublime, you can just highlight anything, and then I do command left bracket. Left and right does either or. Yeah. Right? So I'm going to echo out, and I'm going to go ahead and echo out that specific row, the row variable. And put double quotes. The key was, what was the key here? Track. Right? That's the track. So I'm going to go get track. Right? So I'm going to do the same thing for artist name. instead of track, it's going to be artist, for example. Let's go and refresh this. And great. So Wake Up is a song name. Artist name is Alanis Morissette. So on and so forth. So I can keep doing this for the rest of the information. So on and so forth, right? Yeah. I mean, I won't fill out the whole thing, but I think you kind of get the gist here. So anytime you're working, this kind of if this kind of reminds you of when we worked with the iTunes database or the movie database, it's because the logic or the kind of workflow is similar. First thing you want to do is get the results that you need, whether you use queries or API or whatever it is, or Ajax or whatever it is. You get the result, you get it in some kind of format. Once you get the results, you need to you kind of stick it in the HTML that you need in pieces. You got to parse the data correctly. And with PHP, we're using associative arrays to parse. Okay, if I want just the track or the artist, so on and so forth, I kind of slip it in on each the place I want to slip it in. Yes.
This lecture, like for you're echoing out like individual like rows
Uh-huh.
to the tables and stuff. In this lecture, you're putting semicolons at the end, but on the other lecture,
Oh.
so does it matter?
It doesn't matter at this point. Yeah.
So why did like on some no PHP lines have to end in a semicolon? How come when you do that it doesn't matter?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's no error, right? Yeah. I mean, I would just put semicolon. It must be an exception. Maybe it's like if you're doing one echo statement like that or something, there's an exception, like within PHP tags or something. I mean, HTML tags. Yeah. Good observation. I didn't realize I was doing that. Yeah. Let me do a quick test. If I go back to my results and now I click on like a different song, like I don't know, Sea of Sorrow or something. There you go. I'm seeing Sea of Sorrow. If I click on Photographia, I see song details about Photographia. Ooh, that's odd. Okay. Anyway, Show Me How to Live or whatever it is. There you go. Okay. Question. Yes. Yeah, so some of them don't have composers. Yeah. Like it's null. Yeah, so it's blank. If you want to handle the blank cases, you can. But yeah. Right. So I hope overall, like we understand how we can pass in variables using URL parameters. We can grab URL parameters using the get superglobal. Kind of the main point of this part here. Oh, yes. Sure. All right, any questions? Yes. Yes. All right, any questions about details? So this is kind of the end of the details part where you can click on one, show just that one piece of information. Now the next piece of this would be, or the next functionality we'll work on is adding a song to a database. So any questions about details? All right, cool. Then let's go ahead and add things to add to this database. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my home. And in my home page, I have an option to add a song. So if I click on add a song, I'm going to get some error right now. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be able to allow the user to type in a song they want to add, and it's going to get added to our database. The database is also going to know what was just added. Now that we did the details stuff, we can go ahead and close out your search results, search and details and all that. And let's look at these two pages here, the add form page and the add confirmation page. So these are the two pages here. Okay, what's going to happen is kind of similar to our search form. Add form is going to kind of look like our search form. So let's go ahead and put in our database credentials here again. Okay, if I refresh, there you go. There's my add form. And my add form kind of looks, again, like the search form. It's going to show me all my genres. It's going to show me all the albums, the media type, and all that. So it kind of reminds you of the search form, but we're going to add this time. And notice something a little bit new here is notice how I have these red stars, these red asterisks. For add, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enforce some validation. I'm going to enforce some requirements. So I'm going to say for any of the options that have the red star on it, it is required. Okay, so if the user doesn't fill out any of the required ones, we're not even going to allow the user to add a song. However, we have three options, optional, meaning the user can add a song without an album or a composer or bias. We have some optional fields. Everything else is very similar to search form. If I scroll down to that form tag, we just got to make sure over here, there you go, form tag around line 72. When I submit this form, it's going to take us to addconfirmation.php, which looks like that. And the method is going to be, in this case, because we are creating a new record, essentially we are we're no longer getting results. We're going to create a result or a record. So our method is going to be post this time. So anytime you're creating something, that C part of CRUD, you're creating something, you want to use the post method. As opposed to getting, like I'm getting results, I'm getting the details of a record, of a song, then it's fine. But when it comes to when I'm creating something, the common practice is to use the post method. Alrighty, so once I have all this information, so if I try to submit a song right now, it's going to take us to add a song. Let me go back. Let me refresh. If I try to add a song right now, it's going to go to add-song.php or add-confirmation.php. There we go. Right, so add-confirmation.php is going to do our heavy lifting. It is going to check that. It's going to make sure all the required fields are met, and eventually it's going to also give us a message saying that it was added or it failed or whatever it is. Yes.
So you just put the only changes you made on add form was you put post.
Yes. Yep. And then we got redirected to add-confirmation.php. All right. So all this lovely piece of code here for you. I just gave it to you. What this is doing is we're going to check that all required fields have been passed to this page. So because we're using a post method, we're creating a post request, we're able to grab any values that the user just submitted via the post super global. So if the user submitted a track name or media type or whatever it was, we're going to be able to access it using this post super global, and we can run like a pretty long conditional saying like, hey, if it's not set, if track is not set and it's empty, right, media type, so on and so forth, we can say, we can do that error thing again. We can say, please fill out all required fields. Okay, or whatever error message I want to show. And if I scroll down to the HTML here, you're going to see, oh, text danger, right? You're going to see text danger here again. And then we can write, yet again, another if else statement here. We can say, hey, hey there, like if error exists and it's not empty, oh shoot, okay, let me dedent this, remove the indentation here real quick. Okay, PHP and if. Okay, I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and PHP echo out error. And then otherwise, if there's no, this green message here that the track title was successfully added, it's actually this div right here, but we're gonna leave that alone for now. We'll have to handle this case a little bit later, but for now what we care about is this error here. So if I save it and refresh, oh, let me go back to the form, and let's say I submitted with no information. I try to submit this form, I'm gonna get, please fill out required fields. Okay, let me try that one more time. So if I only filled out, let's say I only did media type and genre, but I didn't fill out track name or milliseconds, if I try to submit this, it's going to say, please fill out all required fields. Okay, this bit right here. And I'll scroll back up here. So we're saying, I already wrote all this conditional for you. If so, here's the error. And then there it is. Yes.
So I saved that, and then when I go back to add a song, and I only put in like song or whatever, and I add it, it's added successfully. It's not tripping that error.
Okay. Definitely want to double check this piece right here and make sure like an error was set for real. Yep, and then you have like the is said and all that stuff, right? And then also double check that you do have this error message here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that we kind of got that handled for now. Okay, if all is well, we're gonna connect to the database, and notice how we're typing our credentials over and over again. It's getting kind of annoying, right? Eventually, I'm gonna not this week, but next week, I'll show you how to not do this over and over again. But for now, just bear with me. We're gonna have to copy paste a lot of information over and over again. In programming, when you start to realize, you start noticing you're copying things over, like you're doing the same thing over and over again, it probably means there's a better way to do it. And in this case, there definitely is. I'm just, for now, just to keep our lives a little bit simpler, I'm just gonna copy paste for now. But okay, so if all the required fields are true, then we're going to connect to our database as usual. Let's go ahead and uncomment this area as well, the line 22. Go ahead and do command / to uncomment everything that we're gonna connect to the database. Right, else we're gonna connect to the database. Right. Okay, and then let's go ahead and, before I do anything else, I'm gonna close this right away as well. I'm gonna go to close this. Okay, and then over here, I am going to write my SQL statement. Okay, so if I want to add a song to a database, I'm allowing the user to type it in. I can, there was that insert into, right? So I'm gonna, let's just, for this one, I think I can type, it's a little bit simpler. So I'm gonna type all of this in here. Insert into, right? And then we need a table name, tracks, I think was a table name. And then we're gonna do first thing we want to put in these parentheses is all the columns, right? So let's look at my MySQL Workbench real quick, and let me try to remind myself what that looks like. Okay. All right. So if I want to add a new record into this table called tracks, right? I'm gonna need a number of pieces of information here. Track ID gets auto incremented, so I don't care. But I need to know name. What is that? Album ID. I'm just all these column names. Media type ID. I'm getting the column names directly from my database. Genre ID. Composer. Milliseconds. Bytes. And unit price. Those are the column names. Okay, those are the column names. Great. All right, my values are going to be ginormous. Okay, so the values are going to change depending on what the user is typing in, right? So whatever the new track name is the user types in, I have to go grab that piece of information. So this is where we're going to do some fun string concatenation. My favorite thing in the world to do, right? Not really. All right, so let's break this down. So my first thing is the value. The first thing is the name. So if the user types in like love or something, I gotta handle that. And it's a string, so I need these single quotes. All right, but then I need to substitute this. I can't just hard code in love. I gotta substitute this with whatever the user just typed in, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and split my string up like this. And I'm gonna say, hey, go get whatever the user put for a track name. Ooh, so weird, but yes, that's correct. So values, parentheses, single quote, double quote, because this is one string. We're gonna use a period to add it to the variable. Another period to add it to this hole here.
Can we use like the
Curly bracket syntax.
Like only interpolation? Yeah, like so instead of it's all one string.
Yeah. So you can actually do something. I don't know about curly brackets, but you could do something like this. We talked about this before. Variable because. Oh wait, no, you can't because. Oh no, you can. I think you can. But I don't. The single quote worries me though. But if you do this, and you gotta do this gotta be single quotes too. It gets a little. I would have to test that. I can't confirm right now. Curly brackets around just the post. Okay, that might work. Yeah, if that works, great, awesome. I'm gonna show you the harder way because if you know how to do the harder way, you definitely will know how to make the easier way will make sense to you. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, I'm gonna concatenate strings like that. So in this case, I could use double quotes still. Okay, what else? Oh my gosh, we gotta do a lot of information. We gotta add album ID, right? Media type ID, and we're able to use IDs in this case, the keys, because if you recall from my form, when the user clicks on media type, the value is set to the primary key of the table. So luckily, thank God, we don't have to join a million things anymore. At the very least, I just have to use IDs now. So my values, and then so you gotta use we got a comma. We're gonna use comma to specify each one, right? So make sure you have comma. So this is values, comma, space. There you go. And then let's continue down this path a bit. We have that. And then we're gonna add our post here. Post what is it called? The post flip our goal for album ID as well. Oh, I'm sorry, album. I think we're calling it album. Or wait, why am I doing album first? Let's go down. Oh, no, yeah. Oh, I have to do album first. Okay, album. I don't know why I did album first, but okay, album. Oh, I think it's because it's the order of the. Okay, yeah. So anyway, we're doing album. This column has to match the value here. There's album. All right, period here. Let's see. What's like the easiest way to write this? Maybe comma. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll just do that comma. All right. Is this better to read? Okay. Okay. All right, and then we're gonna continue adding a lot more stuff. We can do, what is this one? Album, media. I guess media is media type. All right. Okay, comma. Oh my, I love fun stuff. Post. We're going to do, what's that, media type? Genre. Fun stuff. Oh my goodness. I can guarantee you I have some kind of syntax error already, but it's okay. We're going to be able to check this. We're going to composer, so on and so forth. Okay, before I continue, make a just ginormous mess, let's think about this real quick. So I got to some optional points. Album and composer and bytes, right? These are optional. So it's possible that the user is not going to put composer at all. It's going to be blank, right? Like they could have a blank for a composer. And that might break our SQL statement that we're carefully using here. So one thing I'm going to do before I finish this SQL statement is I need to handle these optional values. So I'm going to say handle optional fields like album, composer, and bytes. Okay. Right. So if you recall in your workbench, you've seen like these null values before, right? So if a song doesn't have a composer, I want to set it to null. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that in here. Let's go ahead and quickly write an if. So write some conditional statements here. So if my album, so if we do have an album, if we do get some kind of album back from the user and it's not empty, so if the user did add some album information, right, then let's create a variable. Let's just use a variable, and then if all is well, then we set that variable to album ID. Great. I'm sorry, not album. Oh my goodness, album ID. Right? Or else, if the user did not give us a specific, did not tell us which album they wanted to use, then we're going to just call it null. And to use null, you want to put strings around it in our case. Because PHP doesn't recognize null like that. It does, but it's like it's a different kind of null. So we want just straight up literal null. Right? So this means user selected an album, and then user did not select an album, so set it to null. Okay, and then now I can do something like this in my composer, in my right over here, instead of doing album ID, I can say album ID here, for example. Media type's required. Genre is required. Composer, okay, we gotta handle composer as well. So let's go ahead and do that for composer and copy this for composer. And as you can see, the code is getting kind of hairy and kind of like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on right now. But ultimately, like the more important part of this whole exercise is the logic behind it, right? The reason why we're doing all this stuff is because we're going to handle optional cases. And then all the code is just kind of a mess, but it's ultimately, if you understand the logic behind it, the reason why we're doing certain things that's the crucial part here. So we have composer. Lastly, we also got to handle bytes. So let's go ahead and handle bytes as well. Okay, so we have, we got album, composer, and bytes. Okay, so now in my insert statement, I can alter a little bit. So I have name, album ID, media type, genre, composer. Composer is optional, so I can do composer. I'm gonna do composer like that. Okay, let's continue down this fun stuff here. Composer, and then we have. Did you have a question? Yeah. 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 No, we're putting in numbers. So post genre is whatever the user selected as a genre, for example, right? And they look like strings, but if you recall, we changed, if you recall, each of these genres, they have a value with the key in it. Yeah. So this is what gets passed into post. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Yeah, so the user sees the string, but ultimately the keys are the ones getting passed. Yes. Yes, hold on. Let me just not lose my train of thought here real quick. All right, so milliseconds. Okay, let me just add my comma and I'll go back up. Okay. Up to where? Here or? Okay. Yes.
So for the track name, you put a single quote between, right? Like, and then how about composer?
Oh yeah, I gotta do this for composer too. Yeah. Thanks.
Like, do you have to put a single quote, or is a string automatically?
No, for string I have to put single quotes. Yes. So actually, I'm so glad you said that. I could take care of it here actually. I can say something like that. There you go. Okay, so I changed this a little bit here. So the composer is a string, so I need to have these single quotes around my composer. Don't forget that. So anytime we allow the user to type like a piece of text, we just gotta make sure that we have single quotes around it. That's with SQL, you have to have single quotes around text, around strings. Yes, question.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
If that's the case, then why can't you just don't do the single quote like around album ID or post like media type stuff?
Sorry, which one? Media type?
Like I think like for the first statement in values, it's kind of like different from the rest, right? Because you write it as a single quote, and then there's a double quotation mark inside. But for the rest of the stuff, it's just surrounded by a double quote. And if it is the logic as you described, like just a minute ago, it should be those like $ album ID cannot be interpreted as strings in SQL.
So it's okay because album ID is an integer, so you don't need single quotes. We don't have to worry about it.
All the rest of the stuff are
integers.
So
Yeah.
We don't need to
Single quotes. Yeah. Single quote. Yeah. The only thing that needs a single quote is the track name, right? Because they could write whatever. And then composer, they could write whatever. Milliseconds even is going to be a number technically, right? Price, same thing. It's a number or float. So everything else we don't care about. It's just the track name. Yeah. Yes.
Confused on the single and double quotes when it comes to the contents of values. So you have like the one, you have a singular quote on the inside.
Yep.
And
So,
then inside of that
Yep.
you have the quote.
Yep.
So
Fun stuff, right?
So the double quote.
Double quote is this.
Single quote goes into there.
Yep.
And you have post, and then you have double quotes with a single quote.
Yep.
Okay, and then it continues all down. But like I'm confused by that because all the rest of the code at the bottom is in like.
They don't have it. So the only reason I would like to not have the single quote here, but I have to have it because track name is a string, so I need to have a single quote. Whereas all the other ones, I don't care. I just need this comma because I need a comma in between each value. Right? So, yeah.
I understand that, but then like you have an extraneous quote at the very bottom, right? My SQL quote.
Oh, yeah. It's because I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm making my way. I'm stuck at milliseconds. Okay, let me go and finish this up then. Yeah, to avoid any more confusion. Yeah. I didn't finish it because we got some questions and stuff. So let me go and finish that up. Bytes, and then what's it called? We got unit price. I think that's it, right? Unit price. Okay, awesome. I don't need the last one here then. Where is it? And then I need the last one here. Fun craziness. Oh, bytes is a variable. Thank you. Is unit price a variable? No. Let's get unit. It's required. All right. Does that look about right? Okay, and of course, I have no idea if this is right. So the best way to check is just print it out. Let's go ahead and print this out because I'm pretty sure I made a mistake too. So let's go ahead and print this out. So I'm not going to query the result yet. I'm just going to print it out simply with the HRs. And then let me go ahead and refresh my form. I'm going to just type in like love, right? Media type, genre, milliseconds, price. For now, I'm just going to pick the very first one, number one. Composer is going to be Mozart. Bytes is like, I don't know, whatever. I'm going to go to submit it, and then let's see. All right. Oh, I got an error already. Whoopsies. This should be price. Yeah. Okay, let me refresh again. Continue. There you go. Okay, there's my SQL statement. Let's take a look at that, see if that looks right. Worst case, you can always copy paste this into your workbench to make sure it works, but we can always take a look here. All right, let me see. Name, album ID. That looks good. Genre, composer, milliseconds, bytes, unit values. All right, love. Okay, make sure that there's single quotes on love. All right, single quotes around this love. 1, 1, 2. Single quotes around the composer. Great. And then this looks like it's milliseconds or some, yeah, blah, blah, and price. Yeah, we don't care about that. They're all numbers or they're all integers, or this one's like a decimal. Awesome. That looks about right, I think. Okay, so, programming, a lot of times it's all about just, it really does test your detail orientation skills. All right, fun stuff. Let's go. I think that looks good to me. So let's go ahead and run the query now. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and send this off to my SQLi. It's going to take care of my code for me. Query. Okay, and then if. And of course, I forget this as usual. All right, if results, we're going to go and echo out my SQLi. And then we're going to exit if there's a problem. And then let's think about it. When I insert a record, I don't get any results back, right? So it's a little bit different. Like the results is like, well, like there's no results. But what I can get back is if record has been inserted. Okay. What I can do is my SQLi affected rows will return 1. Okay, so we're going to echo that out real quick here. Inserted. Right? Okay. So if that affected rows is a property of the MySQLi object or the class, and what it's going to tell me is if it affected something, it'll tell me how many rows it affected. It should say 1, right? Because I only added 1 record. If it says 0, it means like that nothing happened, basically, essentially. So that's the only way I can really double check that it's been added. So let me go ahead and save this, and then let's go ahead and let's go back to the form. I'll just start fresh. I'm going to add a track called hello 3:03 p.m. or something. Media type, MPEG, rock, milliseconds. Oh my goodness, I got to put a lot of stuff. 199, album, composer, again, Mozart, 1,000 bytes. Let me go ahead and submit this. Okay. Oh, good. It says inserted one. Awesome. We gotta if this right now this success message is fake. It's just hard coded, so I don't really know. The only way to really check is if I go back to my home. Maybe I search for it. Maybe if I search for hello or something, hopefully it shows up. Oh, hello 3 p.m. Awesome. I just added that. If I click on it, I should see the details. Great. Composer's Mozart. Awesome. There you go. So using this here, I could do something like this. Like I don't know, you can get creative here, but this is what sometimes maybe I would do. I would do like effective rows. If it does equal 1, I'm gonna create a variable, a boolean, saying like is inserted as true. Okay, so this is gonna tell me that I successfully added a record, and using this variable here, I can go back down to that. Remember, I have the success message, right? I can set the success message over here, depending on that boolean. I can say like, if it's inserted, something like this. I mean, yeah, you probably need to refine this a little bit, but I could do something like this, right? Saying like, okay, if it is true, then we're going to go ahead and show on my success message. Now my track title is going to, my track title is going to be whatever the what was that called? What was it? Post method or something? Track. Okay, so let me try that one more time. I'm going to go back to my add a song. I'm gonna say like 303 is awesome. Pick something. $9,999. Facelift. Nyan. Oops, I can't even spell my name. And I get an error. Oh, not track. What was it? Track name. Oh gosh. Okay. Track name, right? Okay, let's try one more time. There you go. 303 awesome is successfully added. So this is just a visual marker that everything was successful, but ultimately, we did this up here. Yes. Question. Yeah, I just added twice. Yeah. Yeah. You should only update one. Yeah. So by the way, if I keep refreshing this, I'm continuing to add to my database. Okay, so just watch out for that. Questions. I'm gonna do one last thing, and then that's kind of it. Okay, one last thing. So the thing about working with strings is that they can be manipulated, and users can manipulate my string. So we gotta watch out for certain things. For example, what if I did something like this? What if I have a song called Nyan's Song? I'm using single quotes. And all my string concatenation is crazy right now, right? So let's see what happens if I try to add a song with like a single quote in it. Let's see how terribly it breaks my code. By the way, this still happens to some sites here. So I'm going to fill out everything. But my track name has a single quote in it. Let's go and submit it. And okay, right away, it's saying you have an error in your SQL, blah, blah, blah. The poor user. Let's see what happened. Let's zoom in here. Oh, what the? Oh, bad, right? I just broke my SQL. So users can break your SQL, and that's terrible. We're going to talk about SQL injection a little bit later. But users can do stuff like this and break your website. Like if they knew, and there's some malicious people that do this on purpose to break your website and stuff for fun. So anyway, there's a lot of issues with this already, right? Here's one thing we can do. We're going to talk more about like malicious stuff later, but here's one thing we can do to overcome this, this thing. We can escape characters. Luckily, we have a method that does this for us, so we don't have to do too much work here. Let me go to my SQL here. So before my SQL statement, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new thing here. I'm going to escape special characters like single quote, double quote, etc. All right, I'm going to create a new thing called track name. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, the method is called real escape string. Okay, it's as easy as that. Thank goodness we didn't have to write this ourselves. What a boring job that would be, right? You have to like, oh my gosh, I don't want. Anyway, post. We're gonna post. All right, we're going to go grab the track name that we just grabbed from the user. So whatever the user just typed in, we're gonna escape all any special characters, and then in my values now, instead of using directly what the user added, we're gonna do over here. I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna say track name. Okay, I still need single quotes here though, so I'm keeping everything the same. I just need to substitute that. Okay, let's. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna run through this. Let's try this one more time. I'm gonna refresh and just start over. Now, if I do Nion's song with the S and then la 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 la. Oh, the rest are okay. Submit. Now, if I submit, aha, it's successful. And notice what it did to my SQL. It escaped it for me. I mean, that's all it's doing, but that saved my thing here. So yeah, you gotta watch out for like very use cases like this when you're working with web projects. You just all kinds of weird cases can come up. Yeah, question.
So is there a way to cancel out an escape character? Like let's say I want to do like a backslash. How do I make it so that backslash doesn't become an escape character? Like I'm thinking if I'm someone who's trying to break into a website, what I would do is if I knew that you had a code that was just going to escape everything, like I would do something. Like is that possible? Because there's got to be a way that you can write a backslash.
Yeah. Yeah. You could do escape to escape. You could do backslash to escape the backslash.
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if you typed in this, if you typed in NAYEON /apostrophe S song, then would that break the code?
Oh, interesting. Let's try it. I don't think so, but let's try it. So if I did like that, you're saying if I did something like that?
Yeah. I just wondering.
Okay. I don't know. I'm curious now. Let's take a look. Oh, it's gonna escape the backslash. It escaped the backslash. Yeah, backslash too. Yeah. Yeah. It thought about it. I bet you at one point it didn't, and then somebody figured it out, and then they added it. I bet. Yeah, fun stuff, right? So when you're working with web applications and when you're working with real humans, like all kinds of weird things can happen. So you got to think about all those different cases. It can get kind of hairy. All right. So ultimately, I know we wrote a lot of weird code today and a lot of concatenation and stuff. All this stuff, like it just takes time to practice, and you just gotta read it over and over again. That's just part of coding. That's part of programming. Echo statements really help. So echo out whenever you can. But ultimately, the core point of today's lecture is not knowing. It's not the purpose isn't to know how to concatenate everything perfectly, but to understand the logic behind it, right? When we are inserting records, we're gonna grab records using a super global, right? And then we're gonna connect to a database. We're gonna write the statement, write the insert statement, but just substitute what the user typed in into the correct places. We talked about handling optional values. We can nullify things if we need to. And then at the very end, if it inserted, it worked, then we can show certain messages. Right? So the logic is way more important than understanding the itty-bitty concatenation and all that. So for your lab, you're going to be doing the same thing. For your lab, you're going to be adding to the football database. And then for the assignment, your final assignment, assignment 9, is the same thing. You're going to be allowing users to add to the DVD database as well. All right. If you have any questions, I'll stick around. Or otherwise, I'll see you on Thursday.